brat. And in his introduction, he said three things that really struck me. First, he said, military brats, my lost tribe, spent our entire youth in service to this country, and no one even knew we were there. And then he said, we've never stopped to honor ourselves for our understanding service to this nation. And the final thing he said, and not in order, it's on my notes on the second page, our greatest tragedy is that we don't know each other. And I thought to myself, why not? Why don't we know each other? How many times have you walked through airports, through malls, been in offices, only to discover the person you're talking to is a military brat, an Army brat, an Air Force brat, and so forth? I think we all know that. So I sat down and I sent an email to my U.S. Representative, Bob Latta, and I said, hey Bob, I said, the Congress has recognized almost everybody else in this nation. Why haven't they ever taken time to recognize the military kids of our country for their service, for our service? 5 hours later, I got a call from his horse holder, his aide, wanting to know more about the concept. I went, well, let me tell you. So I spelled it out to him. 3 months later, he introduced House Resolution HR 5333, Children of Military Members Commemorative Lapel Pin Act. Being called brats in Congress makes those people a little nervous. So I thought, well, you know, I thought to myself, you go ahead and call it what you need to get the legislation through, then we'll take care of it after we get it. The proposed bill is 6 pages long, double-spaced, and it puts the onus on the sponsors to pay for the lapel pins that will be authorized by Congress. It sat in committee for a year and it died. To Bob's credit, he reintroduced it in 2011 as HR 1889, and that bill sat in Congress for 2 years before it died. If you get in committee, it's lethal in Congress. So in April 2013, I was down at a dining in for POWs in San Antonio. And the guest speaker at that dining in was a 3-star, and he was telling about the day the blue car came up to his house when he was 7 years old. And he watched the chaplain and he watched the commander come up to the door. And they were told that their dad had been shot down, and there was no word on it. And for 2 years, they didn't know what had happened to that aviator. And I sat there and I listened to his story, and I resigned myself that I was going to do everything, something, didn't matter what, something every day to promote this legislation and get it through. So I came home and I started hitting Facebook, I started hitting this and that, and I met a friend that does YouTube videos. So he sat down, he created a YouTube video with me, and he said to me, he said, don't you think 2.5 years isn't a bit disrespectful to these kids? Meaning 2.5 years of this legislation sitting in Congress. I said, you bet I do. He said, then why don't you do something about it yourself? Oh crap. That really struck my inner brat, if you'll allow me. So I thought, well, why not? Because if I allow this to continue in Congress, I will probably be awarded my Congressional Commemorative Lapel Pin Act as a member of a military service member posthumously. And I didn't really care for that. So I sat down and I thought, okay, how would you do it? What would you do? And I began by Googling military brats. And what I found was that the dandelion was the official flower of the military child. Who knew? And rather than sit here from memory and try to explain it to you, it's on your card that was in your bag that the dandelion puts down roots almost anywhere, as we all know. I've picked them, I think, in 3 or 4 continents. And it's almost impossible to destroy. It's an unpretentious plant, as brats are, yet very good looking. It's a survivor in a broad range of climates. Military children bloom everywhere the wind carries them. They're hardy and upright. Military children are strong, cultivated deeply in a culture of the military, planted swiftly and surely. They're ready to fly in breezes that take them to new adventures, new lands, and new friends. Experts say military children are well-rounded, culturally aware, tolerant, and extremely resilient. Military children have learned from an early age that home is where their hearts are, just as we are feeling here at Ramey tonight. That a good friend can be found in any corner of the world, and that education doesn't only come from school. So I chose the dandelion. It had an appeal to me as a brat. Yeah, I like that. So I chose the dandelion, and I needed a border. Now, I want to make it very clear right now, I started floating this item on this project on Facebook, and many brats came forward with ideas and direction for me. And some of it was pretty kind. And then the dog tag chain showed up to use as a border around the logo. And that's the way it came about. I found a company in September, late August, early September 2013. I had pins in hand. Late October 21st, I had the first pins in hand. The bill's still sitting in committee. And I had pins in hand and began selling them on Facebook. Now my goal with this project is to recover the nickels I've sunk into it. There are no federal dollars in this. There's no money other than my kids' inheritance. And I told them not to worry about it. They're brats too, and I also have grand-brats, so they're covered. But once I get the initial investment back out of this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this project and give it to a nonprofit, because that's what I went into it with, the idea, and I'm going to follow that through. And I'd like to see it go. Right now I'm looking at the Museum of American Military Families, but there's also a couple others that get deeper into providing services for the military kids of today. Military kids of today suffer, or they experience different stresses than what we had. We had the stresses of multiple moves and so forth. These kids today have, they deal with multiple deployments that many of us did not have to deal with. So that, in a nutshell, is what the BratPin is all about. Since I began with 2 items. I began with a pen and I created a pendant. And I now have over 80 items. And that's based on the feedback I've received from you folks. Hey Bob, can you do a decal? Hey Bob, can you do a scarf? Hey Bob, can you do this? Can you do that? And I'm learning, but I'm struggling on how to say no. Because this is a one-man shop right now. And sometimes I feel like I'm dancing as fast as I can, but it also is a project of passion. It's a project from the heart. And I love it. The last thing I'll leave you with is a comment that I got from one woman in December of 2013. She says, "Thank you so much for designing these. I'm an Army brat and proud to be one. I miss the life, and yes, I'd do it again in a heartbeat. I bought 3 pendants, one for my sister, one for my brother, and myself. I wish they were alive to see them. They would have been so proud. I will wear mine with pride and place theirs in their graves. I think I found the closure." And that's what I hope to do with this BratPin, is to put it out there to where when you walk through an airport and you see somebody, another brat wearing that pin, it'll make you walk a little lighter. It'll put your shoulders back. It'll bring a smile to everybody's face. Thank you.